Organic produce and pasture poultry farm in West Cornwall Township, Lebanon County. The farm is, as the crow flies, about a mile from Sunoco's pumping station, erected in my township, as Ann mentioned, without the proper permits. It's also approximately 800 feet from the 83-year-old repurposed pipeline Sunoco thought would be a good idea to run highly volatile pressurized ethane and butane gas through, and coursing gently and directly through my property is Snitz Creek, the once pristine American trout stream, but over the past 8 months has experienced 3 inadvertent returns of drilling mud made up of dirty slurry water and bentonite clay. The pipeline officials say bentonite clay is an organic compound, it's no big deal. So I decided to do some research on what exactly is bentonite clay and is it benign when it is spilled into our waterways? I discovered it is made up of phyllosilicate clay consisting mostly of monomoraolinite with side effects that cause itchiness of the skin, headaches, muscle pain, and tiredness. I'm not sure what it does, if it makes its way into your well and you drink it, or as the pipeline officials might say, no big deal. You might say I feel a direct and existential threat from the Mariner East pipeline because not only has it impacted me and my farm directly, fouling Snitz Creek, but the bigger picture of how all these pipelines affect agriculture and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania generally. It is a fact that it takes about 500 years for the natural world to produce 1 inch of topsoil. A bulldozer, 10 minutes to scrape it away, and an oil spill, about 10 seconds to render it unfit for food production. In the context of the frantic search for energy reserves, and in light of what is happening within our national food system, we need to have the food and the environment conversation, two issues inextricably linked, now. As Franklin Delano Roosevelt said over 75 years ago, the history of every nation is eventually written in the way in which it cares for its soil. We urgently need to care for our Pennsylvania soil, and crisscrossing our land with thousands of miles of pipeline destroys the soil, which is the ultimate tragedy. Why? Because California, specifically the San Joaquin Valley, provides over 50% of the nation's fruit, nuts, and vegetables, largely on over 8 million acres of irrigated land. Beset by the effects of climate change, including reduced snowfall in the Sierra Nevada mountain range, and historically low outflows from the Colorado River and Sacramento-San Joaquin River systems, the long-term prospects for California as the produce basket for the rest of America are dim. Who's going to feed the people of Pennsylvania when California no longer can, and Lebanon and Lancaster County, with arguably some of the finest non-irrigated farmland in the world, can no longer raise healthy animals or grow to nutritious fruit and vegetables because we've destroyed our environment and sold our children's future to the 21st century version of the carpetbagger. Be the fire, folks. Wish for the wind.
Thank you, Phil. Ralph Bloom is up next.
Hi everybody. Probably everybody knows my ugly face because I've been on the news and internet. But I'm from Cumberland County. There was 210 people involved in Cumberland County. 208 of them took the money. So we're left alone up there with me and one other guy. He lost his case at the Commonwealth Court. He has since moved to West Virginia. So I'm the only one left. I lost my case at the Supreme or Commonwealth Court. And after talking to my attorney, we are going to try, I'm telling him to do it. We're going to apply for the U.S. Supreme Court to see if we can get a hearing with them. That's going in supposedly this week, because I'm going to pay them for it. I'm going to pay them up front. And the paperwork has to go in on special paper with special printing. It costs $150 just to have the paper sent to them. But this is our great country. But they took my property, they eminent domain, they ruined my crops, they cut down 20-some trees, big lumber trees, never give me the opportunity to do anything with them. They ground them up and made fill bags for the silk stuff, filled them up with that. And they have completely destroyed my property, hay crops. And the worst thing is, hurt with water. If anybody want a bottle of water, come on up and get it. We had to drill a new well, and it's still no good. And we had sent in a letter of demand 4 weeks ago to Sunoco to pay for some of this. They've refused to even talk to us. The DEP, Sunoco, my attorney, Senator Bloom, or Representative Bloom, Senator Eichelberger, Lou Barletta, all have gotten notice in November that they contaminated my well. And I proved that by hiring a hydrologist, and he proved that it is their fault, and they just completely ignore us. So I don't know what we're going to do. They're on the process right now of tearing up my property. Looks like a war zone. I think Berlin looked better when it was done than my yard does right now. And it's a terrible mess. It's only 80 feet from the house. The blast zone is 1,000 feet. I don't know if anybody's seen my wife walk in with me. She can't hardly walk 100 feet, much less 1,000 feet. So if anything goes wrong, she'll be cremated on the spot. And that's not the way to live. We're in our older years. We don't have that many years left. We'd like to let them go in a good way, but it doesn't really seem like that's going to happen because they are making a terrible mess, and just what we got. We got nothing. They have not paid a penny, don't want to pay anything. And if anybody wants to come up and visit, come on up. We'll show you what we got, show you what they've done to the rest of the place. You're all welcome. Give me a phone call or send me an email or something. I'm glad to take anybody on a tour of the area and see how bad they screwed things up. That's about all I really got to say now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ralph. Susan Britton-Saylor is up next.
The flammable compressed gases may not smell, but our energy policy in Harrisburg does. Everyone needs to realize that a risk assessment has been done by Sunoco and INEOS, and they decided that a blast zone in Exton, PA is acceptable. I say no to sacrifice zones by haphazard operators. Governor Wolf has ignored the nearly 70% of Pennsylvanians who want clean, safe energy, not fossil fuels. I call BS on state policies that harm residents when we have better choices. We choose a better path. A rally, a statewide grassroots-led group, told the governor that his luck ran out on Friday the 13th. We see what's happening. We acknowledge the science. We choose sustainable energy now. Not a failed technology that allows damage to our neighbors for the private gain for the shale gas industry. The whole world supports us, and Pennsylvania is going in the wrong direction. The 5th edition of the Compendium by Physicians for Social Responsibility concludes that the evidence is clear. Fracking and pipelines are a threat to health and safety, air and water and soil. The risks that are being imposed upon our state residents do not warrant state protection or favor. Tweaking the system will not end the risks that we live with. Weak compromises and empty promises are not acceptable. While the state plans a huge expansion of pipelines and wells and cracker plants, 61 organizations and nearly 1,000 individuals have joined the Better Path Coalition.org. I call out we all call out. Our governor, the DEP, and the PUC. Face the facts. No more political whack-a-mole. We say they are in violation of our state constitution, Article 27, the Green Amendment. And no one has asked us if we want to sacrifice our fresh air, clean water, farms and forests for private gain. Title 35 describes how our elected officials throughout the state have the duty to protect us. Instead, our state has legislated pollution, permitted pollution all through our state. I say enforce our laws for the benefit of the people, not the shale gas industry. The next rally for Better Path Coalition will address the false narrative of the economic benefits of the immoral, backward-looking state policies. Please sign our letter. It has been fact-checked with public documents. I want to close by saying, bad choices lead to bad outcomes. How many times have you told your kids that? Don't be fooled. Pipelines fail. They eventually fail. But strong communities that stand up together can make democracy work for the greater good.
Thank you, Susan. Jim Salva is up next. Oh, and next we have after him are Jennifer Berlinger, PK, and Tom Casey.
Yes, I'm here on behalf of myself, my wife, my family, born and yet to be. And I hope all the people, especially in Pennsylvania, who are tired of our destructive reliance on fossil fuels, who are tired of Pennsylvania's past ways of governing and doing business. This isn't the 18 or 1900s. No, it isn't. We have a different vision for humanity, for Pennsylvania. One that includes respect for our people, our earth, the beautiful landscape of Pennsylvania. All along the pipeline path, there is destruction. We are killing trees and vegetation and livestock. We are ruining people's livelihoods, their property values. We're using psychological warfare, pounding sounds, blinding lights, day and night. It's got to stop. The toxic fracking solution that the gas companies use to drill the wells and lay some of the pipelines, they don't disclose the toxins and the hazardous elements. But yet we see our surface water, our streams, our drinking wells, our aquifers, all being polluted. Do we really have to wait 50 years or more to see the rest of our water supply contaminated? No. Let's stop sacrificing our friends, our neighbors, our family. We know this pipeline does not belong in the densely populated neighborhoods we live in. We have a safer vision for Pennsylvania. Link our great universities and clean, renewable energy businesses and industry and Harrisburg. Give tax breaks. Bring the renewable energy businesses and industries back to Pennsylvania to have thousands of jobs where we manufacture wind turbines, solar panels, software, electronic and solar car technologies, on and on. In conclusion, let not high-pressure gas destroy us, but rather let the life spirit of our communities overflow and protect us. Use common sense. We ask our officials, our politicians, and especially Governor Wolf, to save our air, save our water, save our food. We, the people, choose a better path, won't you? Governor Wolf in Harrisburg, where are you? We need you. Please step up and lead us into a safer 21st century where we use clean, renewable energy. Make Pennsylvania a model for the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next up is Jennifer Berlinger.
Hello, I'm Miguel.
Sorry, just pull the mic up a little bit, speak into it a little bit.
Okay, haven't done this before.
No,
All right.
it's fine. Okay.
Okay, I live in Delaware County in a community called Andover, which Sunoco used eminent domain to take our open space. They saw something they wanted. They didn't even make an offer. They just took it. So to me, that's stealing. They just came and they stole it. So many of you have spoken so well to the large issues. I'm just going to speak to the impact on my family and community. In short term, what is short term? 3 years, and then in long term. Short term, last August they came, they tore down a group of 200-year-old trees right outside my house. When I came out to take some photographs of what they were doing, they called the police. 3 policemen came. My daughter was watching. She's crying. She said, "What's going to happen? Am I going to jail?" She's calling my husband. And this is my property, and they're calling the police on me. Then since then, we've had the 18-foot high sound curtains that many of you haven't seen, which they're ripping down. If they can't even make the curtains hang correctly, how can they do the drilling? I mean, they've ripped down 3 times. They keep rehanging them. A hook flew off just last week into someone's garage where a bunch of little kids play. Thank goodness the kids weren't there. And the torrents of the water that's coming down. Our township gave them the permit to do this in 3 hours. Now, I've been waiting 3 weeks for a fence permit, but somehow Sunoco got their permit in 3 hours to take this whole grading out in our land. Now, I haven't even started the drilling outside my kitchen window. There will be 440 days of horizontal drilling, which now when I heard you speak about the drilling, I'm even more nervous than I was. I live in a 200-year-old stone house, so I don't even know what the foundation is what's going to happen to that. For the next 2-3 years, I can't sell my house. What if we lose our jobs? I mean, how am I going to sell my house? That's our biggest investment. We're stuck. It's frightening, and that's the short-term issues. Long-term, which when I asked for the permit, the guy at the township said, "Oh, don't worry about it. They're going to put it back even better than it was." So I'm like, well, you can't put back 200-year-old trees, first of all. But long-term, I don't care what they put back. Long-term, I've got who knows what's going to be happening to my house and the structure, what I'm going to have to do to fix the house. How about the value of the house? The insurance company for our community told us if this comes in, they will not insure us for any price. So I'm afraid to ask, what about the insurance for my house if they're not going to insure the community? And that's not even doing the safety. Am I going to have to worry every time my son goes down to do woodworking in the basement that a spark's going to set off a fireball that will kill us? To live like that, it's wrong. This is our land. This is our property. We did not want to sell it. They just stole it. Also with the safety, of course, as we all know, there's no plan. I grew up, within the vicinity of Limerick. At least there's an invisible, deadly substance, but they had a warning system, and you had a clear path of what to do before, you would be hurt. There's nothing, and the way our township, the way the state is handling it, it's appalling. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next up is PK.
Come on, give me something here. All right, everybody, as you know, I'm PK. Oh, sorry. I gotta do this. All right, we're good. Can you hear me? You good? Okay, so heard a lot of stories here tonight. I'm not going to add to the same facts again. Did you ever hear the saying, just because we can, we should, like, what is it? Just because we can, we shouldn't, or something. Well, they saw this Marcellus shale. They saw a product in the ground. These cowboy scientists decided, look what we can do. And they started drilling. They didn't do the science, though. They did not do the other side of science, which is, hey, what's the effect of what we're doing? And the thing that infuriates me today here in this county is that we know from the PUC shutting down ME1, they clearly didn't do the science. They're doing resistivity and waveform studies, seismic studies now, ordered by the PUC. Where's the DEP? It's actually in the reevaluations that they should do this in the karst areas. Why is it not mandatory before they even touch our ground? This is science. This is objective stuff. You do not mess with that. If they think they're above well, obviously they think they're above sovereign rights in this country, these companies, they think they're above, which is higher than our constitutional rights, by the way. Treaty rights. Just to constitutional rights being abused. And now they're trying to say that they're above the laws of physics, the laws of science. I mean, come on, we are educated people here. This is what I'm testifying to, that science is objective. Why are we not demanding the science? At least, just don't touch our ground till you give us some studies. Do the thorough studies. You have the ability, the money to do seismic, to do ground penetrating radar. They can do everything they want, but they choose not to. Who are these scientific firms? What kind of scientists are these? My problem with this is that I'm watching residents as you all know me, I go around documenting, sit in people's neighborhoods in the middle of the night. But it's because in science, when I used to do field testing, you have to continually watch. And you have to document not just a couple minutes, but it's got to be hours upon hours because you're watching the process. Are they doing their process correct? Nope. Guarantee they're not. They're making excuses and they're always doing that contingency plan. Like, that means they're always screwing up. So, I mean, I'm appalled by this. I don't even know how to handle this. I get angry. You all know I do. I'm always voicing my opinions online, but it's because I can't grasp. There's no logic to this at all. At all. And then to see and meet people like TJ Allen, like David Onstock, Ralph Bloom, Greg Stevens, the people who are impacted, and look in their eyes and just be like, I don't even know how you deal with life. All of the stresses in life, on top of somebody in your backyard looking at you like you're in the wrong place in your yard every single day. Are you human? Would you not get mad? Would you not freak out? Because I would. Mrs. Allen can't even look at your kitchen without some weirdo staring down at you like you're in the wrong place. It's your yard, though. So I'm sorry for everything that everybody's going through. I wish I could change that. No, I'm just going to continue to fight for you.
Okay, up next is Tom Casey, and the next three after that, Rebecca Britton, Judith Kay, and Christy Marshall. And just a reminder to speak into the mic loudly.
My name is Tom Casey. I'm from West Goshen Township. I'm not going to go into the details because 4.5 years ago I began to wake the community up, and I think I've helped to do that. Tonight represents that. There's so many facts and figures flying around, and these are all facts and figures that I had to learn on my own. So I'm very proud of everybody that showed up into this room today. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the first annual PA Pipeline Anonymous meeting. This has been my drug for 4.5 fucking years. I'm sick and tired of it. This company, this government has screwed us. They are selling us out. I went to my community, I went to my township and tried to get them to understand. They gave us a phone. They threw us a stinking ordinance that meant nothing because they refused to uphold it. Then they signed a settlement agreement and said, you're on your own. And when I went to defend my property, my township manager called the police on me and then lied to my face when I asked him to justify his actions. It's in the police report. I have lost sleep, I have lost family and friends, I have gained, and I have lost again and again and again. This company, I have been deposed by them. They had a 3-inch thick dossier about my entire existence, and they had the nerve to ask me about my underage children. They have taken more from me, but they have made me a lot stronger. I have become a pseudo pipeline expert, environmental expert, legal expert. My wife actually told me she'll pay to send me to law school. I've stood up when I was told that I cannot, absolutely nothing you can do. So I put my name on that ballot and I ran last year for my township, and I will do it again. This is not a Republican issue, this is not a Democrat issue, because this issue that we're facing began in 2004 with Governor Ed Rendell, who was one of the biggest mouthpieces out there for this industry. It then went to Corbett and Act 13, and now it's with Wolf, who refuses to do his job for us. Screw him, screw Sunoco. I'm angry now. I'm tired of being led down the path of lies and deceit. I'm tired of our government and our elected officials forgetting who it is that actually put them there. You are to represent the individuals, not yourself, not the special interests. We need a better path. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Next up, Rebecca Britton.
Hi.
And just make sure that, yeah, just really speaking really loud.
I didn't always live in Pennsylvania. I grew up in New Jersey. It was an industrialized part of the state. My perception of Pennsylvania was a quaint towns, respect for nature, a people that lived with the standard that reflected the all-American values of our forefathers. It's the birthplace of America, after all. In 2015, our family moved to Chester County. 50 feet beyond our back property line was a pipeline. It was different than any other pipeline I have ever heard of. We were scared. Sunoco sends a yearly mailer. That year, I read it for the first time. It said in the event of a leak, we should run upwind, on foot, a half a mile should the colorless, odorless gases leak. It got worse from our family. We thought we were living the American dream. Our first single-family home. I learned that every school my children will attend, K through 12, are within the probable impact radius of the same pipeline. I learned at that point, in 2015, no elected officials seemed to care back then, and no one was coming to help us. The governor who I voted for, after he pandered promises of protecting the environment, approved this disaster of a project. And over the last 12 months, I learned he didn't care about his duty under Title 35 to protect the health, welfare, and safety of our lives and our community. So in 2017, the neighbors banded together. We organized ourselves into an independent voice that promised to educate and unite people over partisan politics and over the big money in the oil and gas lobby. Governor Wolf, you have ignored our plea to protect my family and my neighbors' families along the pipeline path. You have ignored the egregious operator's record of accidents both in the operation and installation of its lines. But where you have failed at your duty, the people will not. We know our rights to free assembly. We know our rights to petition our government. We understand Article 27 of the PA Constitution and our rights to clean air and clean water, and we are not going away easily. We are educated about the effects on the health and environment from fracking to our neighbors in the West, and how this is the contents of our export pipeline. We understand the gases will be fracked into plastics and the impacts to our global environment, and we don't believe our safety and property values are worth these exercises that fuel nothing more than the destruction of our natural environment and the growth of billionaires' investment portfolios. Governor Wolf, I ask you, preserve the natural resources of our great state for future generations. Protect our communities from hazards that are unregulated and not fully understood. Order the study to determine if this pipeline belongs in our high consequence area of the state. You should have done it years ago. Look deep within yourself, Governor Wolf. See if building this pipeline at all is the right for the future of our local economy and our state economy. Or is it just right for the Marcellus shale gas lobby? Governor Wolf, I am calling on you today to reflect the higher values of what Pennsylvania was supposed to stand for. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Up next is Judith Kay.
My name is Judith Kay. I'm a musician, and so for that reason, I actually know how to work this mic. There we go. I didn't really prepare anything, as eloquent as the rest of you. I only found out about this meeting today. So I live in Delaware, not Delaware County. I live in the state of Delaware. And I'm here. Is there anybody else here from Delaware? I'm just curious. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's pretty bad. Actually, Delawareans are clueless about this. I'm working on it, but it's hard. I guess I learned from one of our presidents a long time ago about the trickle-down theory, and I know the trickle-down theory works, and it goes through state lines. And I know that I am 5 miles in Arden, Delaware, where I live. I am 5 miles away from Marcus Hook, where all of this is ending up. And I know that I found out by reading up on this, that I am in the evacuation zone should there be an explosion at Marcus Hook, which could happen at any time. It could happen right now. That pipeline that everybody's talking about, that 80-year-old pipeline that wasn't supposed to have liquid gas going the opposite direction, that's what I understand. It was supposed to go west to east, not east to west. And then with the sinkholes and there's lunacy. There's a kind of bizarre lunacy that I don't understand, and none of us do. But, and by the way, I think Governor Wolf should be invited to take up a summer home residence on Boot Road. We have a great... Come on down. Anyway, let's see, what else did I write down here? Well, what everyone has already said, the numerous and unbelievable, extensive violations by Sunoco thus far, the leaks, the frackouts, the sinkholes. What do we see in this? We see greed and we see gross hubris. We see flagrant disregard for our precious, finite water. There's a finite amount of water. What do they think? Do they think that, are they living like in a little bubble somewhere where like they're not going to be affected by this? Okay, that explains it. So that and the flagrant, gross disregard for human life, basically. It's outrageous, it's horrific, it's unacceptable. And Mariner 1 and the construction on Mariner 2 must be stopped, must be closed down yesterday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judith. Christy Marshall is up next. And after Christy, Bill Wardle, Cheryl Wardle, and Viviana Desley.
Good evening, neighbors. It's wonderful to be invited to participate in the first citizens militia it's ever been my privilege to experience. So like Pam Onks before me, I live in Hershey's Mill, which is a retirement community in East Goshen with approximately 3,000 residents. And I'm not living in this retirement community because I was ready to retire, but I came here to take care of my handicapped sister who was hit by a drunk driver years ago, and also to care for my 92-year-old dad who has just passed on but who is legally blind, and for whom we were caring. He was in hospice care in our home. So neither my sister nor my dad would be able to evacuate anywhere on foot. And I'm not capable of pushing a manual wheelchair for at least half a mile with either or both of them. Electric wheelchairs, we learned, will spark if there's an NGL leak, making self-evacuation impossible. My dad had an oxygen tank, and that would have sparked. We knew we couldn't drive them out. I explored helicopter evacuation, gurney options, and even a horse-drawn wagon transportation. But even horses wear metal shoes now. So there is literally no way to evacuate my sister. And evacuation in place is also a life-threatening option. My sister's medical needs require her to remain in her own room, which is exposed on 3 sides to potential contamination because it has an array of windows and patio doors on the ground level. So I am, of course, willing to sacrifice my own life to stay with her should a blast or a leak occur. But in addition to jeopardizing our 2 lives, this further endangers whichever of her round-the-clock caregivers happen to be at our home at that time. These include a variety of nurses, therapists, administrators, etc. So what choices would they be required to make? Should they abandon their patient to save themselves? And I would urge them, of course, to do so, but I know most of them would not leave. So once I realized the impossibility of any sort of reasonable evacuation plan for my own family and caregivers, I grasped how serious the situation was for a large percentage of the residents in Hershey's Mill, as well as the large assisted living facility nearby. So what will save my sister will potentially save my neighbors. So I've devoted the last year to discovering options, and so far there are none. Within a very small geographic footprint, our community potentially faces a large number of geriatric injuries and deaths. No triage setup will work effectively when people cannot get themselves to a triage location or be driven there. Evacuation at Wellington which is also a nursing facility, would be through the front doors, which are less than 100 feet from the pipeline installation. No humane options exist. These NGLs are a wholly unacceptable risk in such close proximity to senior citizens and nursing and assisted living facilities. So what are the options? Change the product, move the pipelines, or find a safer method of transport? The production of commercial plastic products should not take priority over our families, especially the most vulnerable amongst us, the elderly and the infirm, and the children whose schools lie far too close to this catastrophic threat. So until our communities are ready to rely on renewable energy resources more fully, we urge all relevant authorities to abandon the transmission of NGLs through densely populated areas such as ours. The risks are simply too great. Our lives are quite literally at stake. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Christy. Up next is Bill Wardle.
Thanks for having us all here tonight. Our story is not the most compelling here by any means. We're here, my wife and I are here representing just a few of us neighbors, just almost a stone's throw from here up north. So the thing that we wanted to focus on throughout this whole process was just how we've just been blatantly lied to just in this whole process. There's 4 of us neighbors that we've all become very good friends through this process, one silver lining. But after we were each visited by the Percheron land agents, we all kind of compared notes to say, hey, what's going on with you? What did they say to you? And we found out that we were all told the exact same line, which is the exact same lie, which was that the drilling was going to take place back behind the apartment complex, back there. You won't see it, you won't hear it, you won't even know we're there. We were all told, and I've heard that line once or twice this evening, common theme. So as we started comparing notes, we were all told that line, that it was going to be way back there behind the apartments. Fast forward a year and a half after that, when they start kind of preparing the site, and it was just front and center, right across the street, right across from our driveway. So we look out our beautiful picture window, where we used to see beautiful mature trees, big mature trees, deciduous, evergreen, both of them that buffered us against just a beautiful park-like setting. One day all of a sudden they're just gone. When we were told it was going to be way back there behind the apartments, now front and center. So now we've got that beautiful curtain that we've heard people talk about, just destroying the landscape. We were just blatantly lied to. And getting involved in coming to these meetings and being inspired by people like PK and Tom and some of the others that have spoken tonight, we've gotten involved in. We're just astounded time after time hearing just the lying, the oversight, the manipulation, just the government from Governor Wolf on down, just blatantly looking the other way, not living up to their obligations, not living up to the oath that they took to protect us, the citizens. So that's the most disheartening thing. My wife is going to talk about some of the quality of life issues, how it's impacting our property. And you've heard the well-documented stories of the sinkholes happening just south of here, endangering the train tracks that deliver thousands of people per day, and the sinkholes are impacting the train tracks. So all that stuff is well documented, and nobody in the government level is doing the right thing. So we're just so disheartened by the lying and just the government looking the other way. So thank you for hearing us.
Thank you, Bill. Cheryl Wardle, who's up next? Cheryl Wardle.
Well, first of all, thank you for
Thank
you for having this event this evening so that we could speak and that we can be heard. As my husband spoke already, our house is, it used to look out onto beautiful mature trees that was a buffer that buffered us from an apartment complex. It also buffered us from Route 100. It buffered us from the noise and traffic from Route 100. It provided a beautiful natural landscape. And about this time last year, early on a Saturday morning, we heard chainsaws and we couldn't figure out, it was 7 a.m. in the morning, why there would be chainsaws and who was using these chainsaws and we looked out the front door, all of these beautiful mature trees were being chopped down. And as I've watched each tree fall, I've watched our property value diminish because now I look out into an apartment building parking lot. I can look into the windows of the apartment complex. We have no buffer anymore. Not to mention, we are now front and center of the entrance to the construction site. So when my husband said it was going to be back and, you know, towards the apartments, we won't see it here or even know it's going to be happening. We have a front row seat for all the heavy machinery to come in and out of this site. Is directly across the street from our house. So when they started the drilling last June, because the trees were in April, but the drilling started in June, they were drilling for about 2 weeks when they hit water. They hit the aquifer that is up on the hill just past our house. Sunoco was not forthcoming in telling anybody that they hit the water. Our neighbor had to tell us that he started questioning and he was wondering if our water was impacted. So Sunoco's solution was to fill their drill hole with grout and caulk it. Well, water's going to continue to flow. So now we have a natural spring in our neighborhood that's on my neighbor's property. She lives on the historic property, the house that was built in 1759. They have a water running down their hillside and all the length of their property. And Sunoco's solution at the time was just to put bales of hay. So when that, you know, obviously our neighbors were not happy with that, so you know, they complained, and as of right now, they're still waiting for Sunoco to remedy the solution. They don't have a solution, really. So we're so tired of being lied to. We're so tired of not having the due diligence or not doing the due diligence before this project was even started to see what the impact would be to our environment, what the impact would be to the residents that live near this, and the impact to the schools and the churches and the nursing homes that somebody already mentioned. This should have all been taken into consideration before this project was approved. And I am so tired that they can get away with this. If any other company, if any one of us had done this in our work lives, we wouldn't have a job. So how can they do this? I just don't understand. This is why we have laws and regulations in place. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cheryl. Viviana Dessling is next, and after her, the next three are Allison Chabot, Ethan Buckner, and Ellen Gerhardt.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Viviana Dessling. I'm a resident of Middletown Township in Delaware County and mother of 3 children. I'm also a former Navy pilot, and you may have heard recently we can have nerves of steel, but this has shaken me to my core.